Hi everyone.
Hello.
Welcome. Thank you so much for coming to our 21st Century Fund applicant briefing. I'm Elaine Rowland and I'm the Client Relations Associate here at the Community Foundation, and I'm also the staff contact for the 21st Century Fund. So if you have any questions after this briefing, please feel free to contact me. My name and number is all over the website, but I also have business cards and I'll be here after also. Just a few housekeeping things. I want to make sure you all signed in outside our door here. If you haven't, please, if you could kindly do so before you leave. That's very helpful to us. Restrooms are actually out this door and to the right. The elevators are basically the middle of the circle, so you're just going to follow the circle around and the restrooms are on the right. And just so you know, we are recording this briefing and we're going to post it on our website later this week. It'll be there if you have any questions about the meeting tonight, and also for those that couldn't make the briefing. So a little bit about the 21st Century Fund. It's a unique membership-driven charitable fund that strives to make a positive and substantial impact on Western New York. Every 2 years, the fund's members vote to decide which high-impact local project will receive their support. Since its beginning in 2000, the 21st Century Fund has awarded more than $1.5 million in grants, made possible by more than 360 members. This lifetime membership opportunity is open to anyone that cares about Western New York. The cost is $2,100 or $1,000 if you're under the age of 35, and they can be paid over 5 years. You may join as an individual, a family, or fund another individual or group as a sponsor. So tonight, you'll receive a tutorial about how to apply for the grant using our online portal, Found It. We'll go over the 21st Century Fund grant cycle process and key dates. You'll get tips on how to submit a quality application, and then we'll give you time for you all to ask us any questions that you might have. I'd just like to point out quickly our other very knowledgeable volunteer committee members and staff members that are here representing the fund tonight. We have Cynthia, she's hiding. Cynthia Schwartz is our steering committee chair. Sandy Miller here is our applications review committee chair. Steve Schwartz is our mentor to the applicants. Darren Penoyer, he was by the door. He's a greeter as well as program officer. And then Kate Massiello here in the corner. She's our director of donor relations. So now I will turn it over to Sandy.
Good afternoon. Thank you all for joining us. Again, I serve as the chair of the 21st Century Fund's Application Review Committee. I'm going to take this opportunity to go over with you a little bit about the 21st Century Fund, its origins, key dates, things of that nature. 21st Century Fund was started in 2000 by a group of very committed philanthropists in Western New York, and it is a membership organization where everyone gets a vote. It's a democratic process to give away $100,000 to a project that has a substantial impact on Western New York. It's a fabulous opportunity for people who may not be a millionaire, but still wants to make a pronounced impact on their community, pronounced financial impact, that is, in a way that they can afford. Always looking for members, and it's a very exciting organization to be a part of. I know that I love it. I love being able to learn about all of the different organizations in the community and to see their fabulous projects and to find something that really fits our mission. The 21st Century Fund funding application will be due on December 6th. We are looking for, again, applications that have a substantial impact on Western New York. Now, just because you may be a small organization doesn't mean that your services aren't providing a substantial impact on Western New York. So please don't misunderstand and think that it has to be someone large. Actually, to the contrary, we have had so many large capacity organizations that sometimes we're always looking for a nice smaller organization where we can see a pronounced impact in a neighborhood. Our most recent winner was the Westminster Economic Development Initiative's West Side Bazaar Market over on Grand Street. That was able to, they are able now to accept more entrepreneurs into their program who are sharing space in an incubator-like setting, and then move into their own stores on location. Some of them are on Grant Street and Amherst Street. So we're very proud of that project, as we are the other projects as well. When you're compiling your application, now we're going to be going through the application specifically with Steve also. There'll be a number of questions that you may have. Please look to us as a resource, and please apply early, because we can help you if you do apply early. But once we hit our December 6th deadline, that's a hard deadline, so if there is a mistake or an issue, we won't be able to help you past that time. Following the application submittal, we will be reviewing the applications. There's a committee of membership that reviews the proposals and looks to see for fit. We look at things like sustainability. We look at the capacity of the organization. We look at the impact. We see how it aligns with the feelings of the membership. It's funny, this is far different than a grant process that you would go through with a government organization, in that, you know, in this process, you've got, you have to appeal to us in the brain, of course, but you also appeal to us in the heart, because this is as if we are actually taking out a checkbook and writing a check, all 364 members. So it's in essence a large giving circle where we all weigh in. Following the application review committee suggestions, there usually is anywhere between 8 and 12 applications that are selected that move on to what we jokingly call a science fair, but our first membership event, where the members actually get to meet you, learn about your project, and then we'll vote on what projects that they would like to see promoted to the next level. The next level is a membership event where there are the final 4 applicants. Those 4 applicants are given the opportunity to give a full-fledged presentation to really promote their project. They're in front of a room of very philanthropic people who are looking for great projects to fund. So even if you don't make it to the $100,000 grant award, there is tremendous benefit in being in front of this room of people who are really looking for noteworthy projects. Following in the second presentation event, there will be a vote, and then it's a one grant winner take all vote. So it's an exciting process, but it's a process that really does take some time. So that's something that you'll want to think about when you are developing your applications and looking to see if your project fits this model here. One thing that Steve, our mentor here, and I talk about often is that we're looking for reasons to throw your project out. Not because we have anything personal against anyone, but we're looking to scale down the amount of applications. I believe last round we had 50 or 60 applications for one grant award. So that is something that we're oftentimes looking for, reasons to throw your application out. So there will be further discussion on missteps and missed opportunities that I think we'll go into in a little bit more detail. But again, December 6th is your hard deadline, and Stephen Schwartz, founding member of the 21st Century Fund, has agreed to provide his services to all of you, and I highly suggest that you take him up on it. He is a mentor to the applicants, and he will work with you to determine how good of a fit your project is, ways you can improve your project for the membership, and things of that nature. He's brutally honest, but he is a tremendous asset. So with that, I'm going to hand it over to Steve. Thank you.
We tried it last year, I don't know if the year before. Basically, you have ideas, you have them in your head. By the time you finish with today, you'll have a sense of how they fit the application. But you may not have a full sense about how to win this award. And so, if you want help from me, I'll give you an email address so that we cut down some time in communication. It's Stevens, STEVENS, at localnet, one word, LOCALNET.com. That's Stevens@localnet.com. If you add me to your agency mailing list, I will haunt you beyond Halloween. The mentorship is sometimes tormentorship, because I push like hell. The idea is for you to get a quality application. But for some of you, my advice will be that your application is really weak. That is, it may be great work that you want to do, but it is not likely to fare well compared to other applications. And we'll go through each of the parts in the application, and I'll show you where the weaknesses may be. I'll give you whatever time you need, but there's not much time left. What would be best is if you had a brand new idea that you want the 21st century fund to fund. But I know that practically many of you will take ideas that you already have and applications you already have to other sources and try to kind of stuff it in. We can usually see those things pretty clearly. This isn't a grant. This is a competition. This is one winner. You've got to be better than everybody else in this room and the room before, because we did it the other day. But at this point, what you want to do is you want to get your application in complete, and you want to make the first cut. After that, you'll know what your competition is. And everything is transparent. You'll see it on the website. So it's pretty easy. Also, it's possible if I meet with you and I tell you it's really weak, that you'll have another idea that you may want to work on. It's not a difficult application. It really is not. So there may be something else. And the alternative is, we've had a number of times where people would say, all right, this isn't what we want, but now you have 2 years to develop something for the future. So if I can help do that, I will do that. Do you want to go through the application?
Yes.
We thought we might do it a little bit differently, and that is, we'll go through the application form to say what we want from you, and then you will be told exactly how to do it, the technical aspect. So then you'll have a context for it. So what will happen is Sandy will be going through most of it, and I will give kind of side comments, beware of, okay? So, want to walk through?
Well, in a few minutes, Darren will also walk you through our electronic system for grant submission. It's called Founded, and so that's where this application has come from. It's pretty straightforward, especially someone who's filled out grants and a number of other platforms. This is no grants.gov. It doesn't crash like that. So although I do, you all know, I've been there. So this is something that is pretty stable and that Darren can assist you with any kind of technical difficulties on. Now, it starts out, if you've got your handout in front of you, we're talking about a project summary. Now, it's a short 1 or 2 sentences of your project. Everything here is based on the number of characters. So I know that, and I don't know if this is an approved method, but I know that I've gotten to be quite friendly with the ampersand, so I could say that instead of am. But it's 1 or 2 short sentence description about what your project includes. You'll be able to go into it in much more detail later in the application. We're looking for a CEO or executive director biography. There is something in the application, I'm sure, where they actually talk about any kind of key staff transitions. That's something that we'll definitely need to know if your CEO is retiring or moving on and this will not be able to fulfill this project. That's something we'll need to know. It doesn't discount you if you've got a strong project manager or vice president who's critically involved in the process, but it is something very important. Yep.
We want to know that you have a stable organization, and having a stable executive director with more than 30 days of experience is useful. If the person is brand new, that is not a strong application. If your board has gone through this major transition where half of the people quit, that's not a strong application. The mission statement that you're making ought to be from your real documents. You know, when you were incorporated, you said what a mission was? Because if it's not, it's called mission drift, where you have a great idea about something to do because you think there's money for it, but you don't know how to do it. You've never done it, and not only that, it's not your mission to do it. And we've had a number of applications like that. Stick to the knitting. So we look carefully at that. We also want to make sure that this is signed properly by the board of directors on a particular date, and the dates it approved. Now that needs to be a scanned signature. This is not a stamp. This is one of the reasons, this has been a pitfall from a number of projects. If you get your project in early, Darren will review it, and if you need something that's kind of missing, a typo, he can get to you, and you get 24 hours. If you get it in right at the deadline, it's done. There ain't no fixes. So if you think you want somebody to review this, get it in early. And do not say, well, our board doesn't meet yet. Well, so what? Not my problem. Or the president's out of town. That's not our problem. If you want to show you're competent to man $100,000, you should be able to fix these kinds of things. I mean, you have to meet us on this one.
And given the 6 weeks from now, and I
It's
know
tight.
that it's tight, however, that should be enough time to coordinate with your board and get any necessary signatures that you'll need, because we will need that actual signed off letter.
One general statement, the first commandment is, you should submit a timely, complete, and truthful application. Timely, complete, and truthful. If there's anything in your application which the application committee finds is not true, it will not look kindly on your application. These are not filled with wishes, they're filled with facts. So please don't make stuff up. Again, use the budget form. So you've got your first commandment off of that. And we need you to make sure that you're a stable and effective 501c3. Is anyone here representing an organization which is not a 501c3? Because there have been occasions where an organization has partnered with another one, not just as a pass-through, but a partner in a 501c3. And when we get all your data on here, we're going to look up 990s, we're going to look up a whole bunch of stuff, okay?
Well, so back to your point that we have had people who partner, and if it's a genuine partnership, which is something that we're going to talk about a little bit more in detail, but if it's a genuine partnership, if your services actually complement one another, if it's an activity that you've got the capacity to pull off, then that's something that will be considered, and even using a partner organization as a 501c3.
You have any questions from the first page? Okay, we'll hit the second one
I do
now.
actually,
Yes.
sir.
Pardon?
The question here, when you talk about the board, is it just the executive board members or in the entire board?
On the second page, we're going to talk about the board member list. It's a complete board of directors. Because the board is the governing authority. They're the ones who will be receiving the money. So we want to know who they all are. We want their names. It will benefit you if you have their affiliations or professional credentials in order to show that there is a kind of fiscal authority on the board, that there may be legal authority on the board. There could be property specialists. And later on, when we talk about budgets, it may well be that separate from them, there are other people providing those services for you as well at no charge to you. We want to know the kind of character and competence of your board, that it really has the capability to manage this, okay?
And that brings us into the next issue, which is board involvement. Now, we struggled with how to phrase this properly. We're not looking for, Tom Smith gives us $10,000 every year. We're looking to see that the board is actively engaged in the institution. We're looking for their involvement. So do you have 100% participation from your board? So that's really what we're looking at. We might phrase this differently in upcoming applications, but just so that there's no misunderstanding on this issue.
And there are three kinds of things that your boards do financially, and there are three things that they do. One is they may give, another is they may get gifts, a third is that they may do. That is, they're really things that they're doing. We want a sense of the involvement and the capability. That's a strength for you. We want to give you credit for that.
Well, and then we're going into history of grant requests, which I think is pretty self-explanatory. They just want to know what grants you've applied to through the 21st Century Fund and also just the Community Foundation in general. That's something else that you may become more aware of if you are not aware of the opportunities through the Community Foundation. You may find that once this briefing is over with and you've really thought about it, perhaps your project may not fit the 21st Century Fund, but it might fit one of the strategic areas of the Community Foundation. And so that would be something that you may be very interested in pursuing further.
We're looking for a project that's innovative. If somebody else is doing it, we're going to ask you about that. Who else is doing it? You ought to be able to make a case that what you're doing is different. Or you're partnering with them. It's okay. What we've got is a number of applications in the past, and even currently questions, where an organization is doing A, B, and C for a group of clients, and they want money to do D. That's not a very strong application. That's just adding on to what you're doing. Or they're doing for population A, B, and C, and they want to add D to do the same things that they're doing for the other. That is not a very strong application. We're looking for something that is substantially, qualitatively different. And it's a program that stands by itself. If you're asking for a staff member, that's not going to be considered very well. If you're asking for operating expenses, that's not going to be considered very well. You've got to be able to sustain whatever efforts we help you with. And this is a one-time thing. So we're going to be asking you questions about what do you do if you don't get the money. We're also going to be asking you questions of how you're going to maintain this kind of thing. So it's a capital project, but that doesn't mean it's about bricks and mortar. It means it's an investment. And it's something from the moment you get the money, you've got 12 months to spend it and complete the project. So think about that encapsulated in a way. And those things will strengthen your project.
And that brings us to the one-year deadline. I don't know that I mentioned that before, but you've got 12 months from the time that you sign your agreement with the Community Foundation to spend the money. So that's something that the Application Review Committee looks at as well, is your readiness, project readiness there. So there's capacity, which is a huge thing. Are you able to pull this off? And then the readiness, are you able to pull this off within a year's time? Yes?
You mentioned that capital's included. To go from that stop to building open in 1 year is quite the challenge. Is that what you mean?
No. No. In the past, we have had applications for all of the phases, from we need an architectural plan, to we have a plan, we're going to do the building, but it needs these kinds of things in it, one-time operation. There's almost nothing that can be built in, not in my lifetime anyway. So it can be part of a building, but remember there are phases to it. And those things have happened. For instance, the first award to the Darwin Martin House had to do with taking down a apartment building so that the land was ready to be able to do other kinds of structure. That was a reasonable kind of plan. There have been plans for moving facilities from one place to the other and expanding them. That's still a possibility. The plan we did fund was not successful in being able to do that, and in fact withdrew after they had been awarded the money, and the money was not awarded at all because it wasn't anything that could get pulled off. But it could be, you and I can talk about that like we do every 2 years. Okay? What else do you want to do? Yeah, we'll see you right at Spot. You can buy me coffee.
And also bringing up planning, we have funded plans in the past. Now, for instance, we funded the Buffalo Zoo, the plan that they needed to put in place for the rainforest exhibit. So that was, I believe, I don't remember how many millions of dollars that overall project was, but it made a profound impact. It enabled them to be able to take that project to the next level, and without that planning money, they wouldn't have been able to achieve their objectives. So the planning money is something that is definitely considered and has been awarded in the past.
I want to go back to one thing that was said. The grants have the awards have primarily gone to Erie County,
Yes.
and primarily to large organizations. That's been a disappointment to the members. The members are always looking for a good mid-size or small project and outside of Erie County. The last thing we want to do is be seen as something which is provincial. And the process after the first selection is an even playing field with all sizes of the organizations. So we're looking for something in addition to, and the first cut is all we're talking about. So if you're a small organization and you can show competence in being able to manage an additional $100,000, if your whole budget is $50,000 a year, you're not going to have a very strong application. Even in-kind fictional dollars aren't going to make it either. Large organizations clearly have more experience with it, but we like to make a difference. And so small organizations will always get considered and have always made it in the first and second cuts, always.
Well, now we're up to page 4, and we talk about project readiness, which we touched on before. We talk about things, if it is a capital project, what approvals are required? If you are renovating an existing space, do you have site control of that space? Meaning that, do you own it? Do you have a signed lease in place with the landlord that extends beyond the next couple of months? Things of that nature. Will there be environmental issues that you have to deal with? Because those can be lengthy. So, things of that nature. Will you need to apply for permits? Yes?
Just in terms of the timeline, getting these things in line will require knowing when is the presentation dates, when are the lining those things up.
Well, we're going to have our first presentation in February. We haven't nailed down a date yet. And then the second one is slated for March. As part of the application, we understand that, we don't want you to go out and spend a lot of money on environmental reviews and get your permits for something that is contingent on this funding. So if you put in the application that you know what it is that you'll need and that you project that you would apply for your permit and have it and receive it by X date, that would be something that we would certainly take into consideration.
If you say, we will look for a site after you give us the money, that's not very strong.
No.
If you say, we have a site identified, and for other reasons you don't want to identify that in the application, which will be posted up there, you're going to have to let somebody from the 21st Century Fund staff know so that they can be able to say that there is a specific place.
Yeah.
And there ought to be some assurances that that's real.
Yes.
Again, we've had problems where one place was identified, and then it got changed to a second place, and then it got changed to a third place, and that project did not get money. So if things don't cost much, apply for what you need now. You ought to have the applications in.
Right.
Because my suspicion is that you really want to do what you're proposing to us, even if you don't get the money, right? I mean, this is not like the prize at the bottom of the Cracker Jack box. This is something you really intend to do. So you must be pretty well along in your planning. You must know what you're doing. It doesn't have to be complete, but we need to know that you're there. You're not starting fresh when you get the check. You won't get the check.
Right. And then we need a firm commitment if it is a property situation. Timeline also, the work can, talking about a lot of the things that we just talked about, but when is your projected completion date? I mean, that's something that we know can be a moving target depending on if they get the money or if you get the money or not, but just pretend that you did and just put that in your language that, with this 21st Century Fund grant, we would have that. Past project history, that's something else that we would like you to get into a little bit of detail. It's only 1,500 characters, so it's not huge, but we want to see that this speaks to capacity. This speaks to what you're able to actually pull off. So we're looking at, at that, what's your biggest project to date? What is it, what's a real bell ringer that you've got? What are you particularly proud of? What have you been able to pull off? And I think that'll help, with the confidence issue as well. Past project history.
That's okay.
Yeah. Project impact. Okay, we're looking, we have innovation and impact. So, well, innovation's innovation. How is it exciting? That's something that people look at also is that, you know, we call it sizzle or what have you. I mean, since this is going to the vote of the general membership, I mean, you know, make it sexy. You know, make it as, give it as much sizzle as you possibly can. Because this is something that, although, you know, we're looking at it from very objectively and with a rational mind, we're also looking at it, you know, emotionally. And where do we feel that our money would do the most good? So that's something that's very important. The impact, who are the beneficiaries of this project? How does that parlay into an effect on the Western New York community? How is your project special? What is it doing that perhaps no one else is doing, or if someone else is doing it, how is it different or providing a pronounced impact? And so that's something that is huge. And then what outcomes are you expecting, and how do you plan to assess and measure those outcomes? That's something that's always a very important question. And then we also ask about how it develops resources for the region. And that could be in a number of ways. And that's something that we don't want to box you in, but at the same time, we don't, it needs to be a little more substantive and less
Imagination.
esoteric. Yes, imaginary. Did you want to add more to the impact? Some more commandments? We have 10 commandments.
Well, I had trouble with them, but some of them are things we're going to deal with. The 21st Century Fund should be necessary for this project, but they shouldn't be absolutely sufficient. You've got to be leveraging this money. This allows you to do things that you couldn't ordinarily do. This will allow you to do more than what you could. Leveraging the money is very, very important. If it's all our money, it's not going to be a very strong proposal. If almost none of it is our money, it's not going to be a very strong proposal. It's the Goldilocks,
Yes,
right?
it's the Goldilocks.
That's what it's got to be just right. And it's really a judgment. It has to be necessary, but it may not be completely sufficient. Because we're talking about something that really ought to have an impact. As I said, shouldn't be operating expenses or administrative costs. Don't decide that part of this money goes to the executive director's salary. That is a red light. That makes it difficult. This should sit by itself. The partnership should be real. Collaboration means co-labor. It means that people are doing something together that neither one could do by themselves. It's not a letter of reference. It's not a letter of support. It's not a letter from your congressman. It doesn't mean anything. They really don't mean anything. What you want is the people who are really doing the work with you, the real partners that you have. And partnership and collaboration is an asset in a proposal, because almost none of us can do anything by ourselves. Avoid jargon and abbreviations. If we don't know what the letters mean, then they're not going to be well evaluated. My advice is to have a smart 11th grader read your proposal and make sure you can answer all of his or her questions. I'm serious. Sometimes we write things and we just look at them over and over again. We've had applications submitted to us that had the edits on the side. You know how Word does, delete this, and no, don't do that.
Yeah.
Don't do that. In-kind contributions are difficult to weigh. If you're talking about we have 500 volunteers who put in 5,000 hours, that's worth $11 now, that doesn't mean much. If you've got a company that's giving you legal assistance at no cost, that's a good unkind. Or real estate assistance at no cost. Something substantial. Saying we have 5,000 volunteer hours is enough. Don't make up a dollar figure for it. You're giving something to question. Don't bother. The fact that volunteers are really important. Basically going back to what I said, concise, honest and truthful, clear. We ought not to guess at what, there should be no questions that anybody has about the proposal. You should have answered them all. And remember, it's a comparative process. By the way, the people who are on the application committee, if they have an affiliation with the organization, they will not be able to vote on it. So there is no benefit to you by having somebody on your board or on your staff on the application committee. It's just neutral. And don't make any phone calls, don't do that. Don't have anybody make any phone calls on your behalf, unless it's to complain about me, and then that's fine. That's been done.
And back to the question issue, if you should be answering all of the questions that we would like answered. However, make sure that there is someone from your organization assigned to field questions. There have been times where the committee has been unclear about things in an application. We've tried to reach somebody at the organization, and we've been unable to reach someone who has any intimate knowledge of the project. So make sure that you've got somebody who is dedicated to this project, who keeps regular office hours. We won't be calling you at midnight or anything, so it's not that unreasonable. Just make sure you've got somebody available. And I think that's
Just
it for...
use our budget form.
Yes.
Don't put your own budget form in. Okay.
And be careful with the cut and paste, which I'm sure Darren might also talk about. A lot of times when you are working with systems like this, you may want to work on your narrative on Word and then cut and paste it into place. Just make sure that you're careful that everything is included in there, and that you don't get hung up on some things.
So do you have a sense of what the application will include and the deadlines? Darren's going to tell you the details, exactly how to do it, and it's a great system.
For those that don't know me, my name's Darren Moyer. I'm Program Officer for the Community Foundation for Greater Buffalo. About 90% of the time when you apply to the Community Foundation for Greater Buffalo, I'm the contact. This time, I'm not, except for when you have issues with Foundit, our grant application system. Save and upload, or questions on characters, things like that. So this is one time that, since it's a donor-driven initiative, you'll contact Elaine if you have questions about the questions. So again, any other time you apply to the Community Foundation, I'm likely to be the one. So let me go over why we went electronic, and we went in 2011, and it's really pretty important to understand because it gives you a view of what the Community Foundation is all about. It's more efficient. The process is electronic from the application to review to closeout. So we're totally paperless because one of our 4 focus areas that we fund under is the environment. This eliminates paper. So we need to walk the talk. It's very important to us. Plus, it's inexpensive. This system, in comparison to its competitors, is super cheap. But that doesn't mean it's not super robust. This system is used nationally. It's used by the Community Trust in Chicago. It's used by 2 other foundations locally. I know there's another foundation that is shopping it. So if you apply to the Western New York Foundation, you're using Foundit. Children's Guild too. Why we went with the most inexpensive system is basically because we have donors, and we want to make sure that we give the most money out. We want to make the most of their money, and we don't want to be putting it into a system that's going to be costly. So this system, again, is robust. It's never down. Very rarely, I'm going to eat my words tonight on this, but those that have used it, and there are some in this room, can verify that it is a stable platform. So we're happy to have this. It's been a great investment for us. So I'm going to demonstrate on how to get out the application. Again, I want to stress what they said. No PDFs, no paper copies. This is totally online. You click submit at the bottom, it will send it to us. So you don't print out any PDF copies unless you want a copy for your own record, which you can do. So once you're on the application, or on our website, which is www.cfgb.org, click on Apply for a Grant. It's going to take you to the screen where you'll see all of our processes listed. These are all of the competitive processes that you can apply to at the Community Foundation. And at the very bottom is 21st Century. It takes you out to the page specifically for 21st Century Fund. And you would click right here in order to go out to Fountain. Now, for those that don't have an account, you'll have to create an account. And it's really simple. I mean, you need your tax ID number, it's basic information that you'll have at the top of at a moment's notice. And you won't have anything special here except for maybe your tax ID number you'll have to look up maybe. But the system utilizes this information and it verifies that you're a 501c3, it links to your 990s. So the system is that comprehensive. And so I can go and click, 2 clicks of a mouse, I can go and look at your 990s for the past few years. So this is pretty simple, but if you have an account, and a lot of you do here, and you've forgotten your password, I don't have it. Because everybody uses their same password for everything. And I don't want access to your banking account. Believe me, it's just too many security issues there. So all you have to do is click forget your password, it'll send it to you. It's that simple. So don't call me for password because I simply won't have it. Remember that all login information is case sensitive. So make sure if it sends you a password that has a capital letter in it, you enter it as you've created the account. So keep that in mind. And if you are creating a new account, please keep your password and everything for future use. Because again, everything comes through this system for the Community Foundation, okay? And includes the affiliates, the Wyoming Foundation and the Niagara Area Foundation. So, and we also have some donor advised funds that come through this system. So keep it all, because it all comes through here. And the neat thing about it is, it creates a history for you. Anything that you applied to through the Community Foundation since 2011 should be out here. So you'll be able to click on the dashboard link and you'll be able to see what you've applied to. So it's a nice reference. And it also, you can sign in and out all you want. This way you can, if you have a current application out there like the 21st Century Fund, it's 24-hour access right up to the deadline. So, and you can also see where it stands, denials, things like that, if it comes down to that. So, let's sign in. I have my own little cheater account here, so you can get an idea. The wrong one. Here we go. If you have an account, it's going to instantly go to what's called the dashboard, and that's your grant history and current applications. And I'm going to show you what I will suggest to you whenever you first sign in to apply for the 21st Century Fund. So as you can see, I've done a couple of these demos. There's a couple of 21st Century, and edit application allows me to go in and see my current app that's out there live for me to work on. And as you can see, there's all sorts of history here, from the Perry Fund to old 21st Century. The other link on the left-hand side is the apply link, and this is the most important thing that you're going to want to go to because it lists all our current open and closed. The Niagara Area Foundation just closed their application process recently, but this blue link on top indicates that it's a live process. So you just click on that, and it takes you to the 21st Century Fund application, specifically for this process. The first thing I'm going to suggest you do when you do this, right to the bottom, click Save as Draft, and now on the dashboard you've got a live app that's for your use, in and out, all you want to, right up to the deadline. And remember, you don't have to go in every time and click Apply and then start a new one. I have people do that a lot. It's now on the dashboard, and you can go right out there and look at it. And it'll say Edit Application. The other feature I want to point out here is you're going to have to do scans. As Steve had said, you're going to have to do a board letter, and you're going to have the board chair sign it. We want his ink signature, which you will scan and upload. Say you don't have a scanner. Well, over here on the left-hand side of the screen is a feature that was unique to this system called fax to file. You can use your fax machine to create a really well-sized PDF copy. You just click on it, it gives you an 800 number, you've got 15 minutes to fax to this phone number, and then you click, afterward you click on this and you'll have a PDF that you can download to your system. So, if you have scans that are, say you set your scanner to high, like we used to do here in the office, and you have a 25 meg upload, go out here and do fax to file. It'll probably create a properly sized PDF for you, probably pretty small, and it's usually a great tool. So, but it's we're really happy with this feature. It's something that's useful, and don't be afraid to use it. Right here is the question list, and this is what you have a copy of. It prints out the question list with everything, all the character counts, which we'll go over also. And it, so you can use it to work on this application, you know, with maybe Microsoft Word, if you don't want to work here in this system. A lot of people like to do cut and paste out of Microsoft Word. That's great, that's fine. The system's robust enough though that you could work right in here. So the character counts in the system are accurate. You want to go with what's in the system. And I'm going to warn you 2 times here. Stay within character counts at all times. I can't stress that enough. All times. There's a couple different reasons. Okay, it prevents the save feature from working. Okay, when you go down and click save as draft, if you're over the character count, it's not going to save. You're not following the rules. It's telling you that. But don't put yourself in that position. Stay within the character counts at all times. Character counts are spaces, okay, punctuation, any of that counts as a character, just for clarification. Do not, one of the things I've seen recently is people doing run-on sentences. And I'm not talking a run-on sentence for like, you know, the same, no period for like 50, 60 words. I'm talking they take the spaces out. Don't do that. Okay? I've seen that a lot lately. I don't know why. I think there's like a little blog somewhere where people post stuff, how to get around the community foundation's limits. I don't know. It just started happening. So try and stay within it. There's a reason why these folks are volunteers. They only have a limited amount of time. And so we want to keep it within space limitations. This reflects the original paper application. It really does. So there's very few changes as far as the size goes. So that question list is available to you at any time to print out. And the other thing that you can't do with Found It, you can work in this in one place, one computer, one screen, one tab at a time. If you do other than that, if you have it open on, say, somebody else's computer and your computer, it's going to mess up the save plot feature. So the way around that is the question list. Print it out and have everybody work in Microsoft Word and then cut and paste it all into the end. That's how you get around that. The other unique feature with this system is it has an automatic save feature. And every 15 minutes it will automatically save if you're in the character limit. Okay? That's a nice feature that a lot of systems didn't offer. So every 15 minutes, it'll do it by itself, and it'll probably do it within while we're talking here. However, I'm not saying don't trust it. I'm saying best laid plans, you want to click save as draft at the bottom every so often by yourself. Just because you never know when the power's going to go out, or if you're like me, the internet goes down, just be safe. I have confidence in the system, but things happen that are out of your control and out of mine. So, some of the features, what I just went over, a lot of it's here. Up here is a reminder. So you'll want to go over it and just keep it all in mind. The other thing is file uploads. We can accept JPEGs, of course, a PDF, which you're going to have to do probably for your board letter, Microsoft Word, and Excel. Now, I'm also going to warn you, no zipped files. It just doesn't work with the system. And it's how people try and get around the limitations with this. Just if you're having a problem with an upload and it's not the right size, give me a call. If ultimately fax file didn't work or you couldn't set the resolution low enough, call me. We'll work it through you. That's what I'm here for, is that end of it. But don't upload zipped files, it's right there. And please try and stay within these 4 files. There's other options, but I think it works best for the reviewers if you keep within these 4 options, and that's why we limited it to that. I will give you a call, or Elaine will give you a call if she's editing, and let you know that you have to, if you use any other format, because it causes problems for them. Yes?
What's the file size on it?
There is no font size. It is what it is. You're stuck with what they
File
give you.
size.
File size?
Yes.
5 meg.
5
Yeah, for this application, you have 5 meg per space, and as some people who have applied before know, it can get as low as 2 meg for my applications that I do competitively.
In regards to, the character space, character count, what if you have a very long organization, but next to the name when you first add the information into the application, parentheses, and using the 4-letter?
That goes back to the profile. The profile oversees it all. So you don't enter it into the application because it's default. You have one account that you utilize. Do you see what I'm saying?
No, what I mean is, can you, like, with my organization,
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah, that's
If
fine,
you've
yeah.
got, the Western New York Coalition of Neighborhood Housing Services, blah, blah, blah,
right,
and your abbreviation is WNYHA, use that through the rest of the application.
great, thank
Absolutely.
you. Thank you.
Yeah, sorry, I
Just
didn't
wanted to make sure.
understand.
Yeah.
Excuse me. Okay, we'll go over an upload. I'll show you how to do one of those. Please upload only the requested materials. Do not put cover sheets, please. Again, it's a matter of these folks reviewing. It adds another layer and you have to search. Just consider your reviewers. Remember your audience. Make it as easy as you can whenever you're doing an application.
And Darren, let me jump in there. Remember your audience. Don't use 8-point font. We've got to be able to read it. Please use at least 10-point, and
It's
really it
default.
should be 11 or 12.
Yeah, it's default, so it's not a concern.
But even on the things that you're uploading,
Yes, good point.
it's all
Excellent
going to be
point.
readable.
Yes.
Not all the eyes are young.
It's kind of like taking out the spaces in the sentence. Don't do it.
This
Yes.
might be the OCD in me, but do you require some naming conventions for files? Because I'm sure you get a lot of 1-point JPEG, 3-point.
No.
So you just.
As long as it's a JPEG, PDF, Microsoft Word, accept. You name it anything you want. Right here is my contact information, I believe. Yes, my eyes are bad, as she just said. So that is if you have a problem with it, say text issue or something with Fountain, that you need to talk to somebody about. Call me on those ones. So that's where my contact information, and I'm also on the website, so.
Derek, can you just read your phone number out loud?
Sure, it's 852-2857, and I'm extension 206. So I'm going to demonstrate the characters, just so you can see the character count at the bottom. See how it counts down? That's simple. And that actually is a rare feature, believe it or not. Other systems at that time didn't offer out that they do now, but. Let me see here. So let me do an upload for you. And I'm just going to do a demonstration so you understand, we're not going to be specific with the letter of application. I'm just going to choose something off my desktop here. So, you just click on that button, and then go to desktop, find a file here, and click on it off your desktop or wherever it's on your hard drive, and then go down here and click Save as Draft. It's that simple. If you upload an incorrect file, you just upload it over it. It overwrites it. It's that simple. Just do another one, and it'll get rid of the old one and replace it with a new one. It's that simple. It's not a hard system to work with. It's fairly logical, so. And as you can see, it's right there. You can click on it and see it. They had mentioned the budget. There is a budget right here. You click on it, download it to your computer, and complete it, and then save it and upload it. So it's that simple. Use this specific budget, please. Okay. Trying to think if I covered, the application package. This is when, if you wanted to create a PDF copy for your own, of the whole entire thing, you click on this, and it'll create a whole application package for yourself, for your own records. Say you wanted to keep it. Say you're still in the paper mode. And I'll admit, some people in the office are a little bit still there, so you're not the only one. But you just click on that, and it creates an application package for your own records. So, things that I want to mention as far as when you start dealing with the program department. As I said, this is donor driven. But when the $100,000 is given out, at that moment, you come to the program department. It becomes our grant to administer on behalf of them. So at that point, we'll be called Community Impact Department. So if there's any confusion, I'll still be a program officer, but it'll be called Community Impact Department. We're going to be changing. Just so you can find us online in case you're looking on our website. We will work with you to get all the paperwork completed, okay? And you will, we'll, deal with the details as we go along. But either myself or Gene McCune, who's VP of Community Impact, will be working with you. Closeout is done online, and I can't stress this enough for any grant that comes from the Community Foundation. I want you to remember, we're a community foundation. We're a foundation of foundations. We have 750 different funds, okay? And there's donors that are very interested, and the 21st Century Fund is extremely invested, of course, in this grant, and they want to see what they bought for their money. It's all about investment, okay? But that doesn't just apply to them, it applies to any donor. They want to know what they bought. Your closeout, there's going to be a small questionnaire. It's really pretty brief. We'll set goals at the beginning, and they'll be based on what you apply with here, okay? You'll have to meet those at the end. And we also understand best laid plans don't always go the way we expect them to. And we've had some derailings here and there. Come to me, come to Gene, whoever's working with you. Don't hide it. Please don't hide it. Come immediately. Immediately if you see a problem. Because a lot of times we can deal with this very quickly and very expeditiously. It's out of the way and you're on. So keep that in mind. That's what we're here to do, is work with you and to help you. The other thing that you want to do, remember, is that you have to do an expenditures report. Okay, so remember that when you do your budget here. Think about how you're going to report at the end. Begin with the end in mind, is the old saying. But seriously, think about how you're going to justify these costs to us. We will need invoices, canceled checks, one or the other, to justify it as backup. It's absolutely required. And we will utilize this information and the experience with you for any future granting. Keep that in mind. We want to make this as smooth as possible. If you have questions, happy to work with you. Don't run away and don't ignore me, because I need that closeout. They need that closeout. So you'll get an automatic email 2 weeks before closeouts due. And the system will send it right out to you. So if there's a change in personnel, let me know. But it'll send it right out to you. Just log right back in with your information. You'll see an edit and you just go right in and fill out the information, upload your expenditure documentation. It's that simple. So, any questions? Okay.
Sitting back here being the ribbon clerk. Again, I'm Cynthia Schwartz. I chaired the steering committee this year. And I have also served several rounds on the application review committee, which I must admit is one of the more fun things to do connected to the fund. We've been sort of serious tonight, so I want to reiterate a couple of things. One is that You need to remember that the committee is a committee of your friends and neighbors in the community. It has nothing to do with staff at the foundation. It is strictly a review process done by those of us who are donors to the 21st Century Fund. That's a plus and a minus for you, because Buffalo is just a large living room. There are no secrets in Buffalo. You put 12 people together around a table, someone's gonna know something about your organization. So I would reiterate what Steve has said, be honest and forthright. If there are some issues you're dealing with, be upfront about them, because somebody on the committee will know, for sure. One of the things that we have done the last couple of rounds is that there has been a follow-up for people who don't make the first cut. We have offered the opportunity for them to meet with members of the application review committee so you get a better understanding of what it was that dropped you out of the system. I will tell you 9 times out of 10, they are absolutely terrific projects with a very narrow reach. It's not that the project wasn't worthwhile, it was just that it was not broad enough an impact for the fund to move it forward. But I think people who have met with us in the past have found it helpful, and we're more than happy to do that again if perchance, and it won't happen to any of you, you don't make it through the first cut. One of the things that does happen that I think you need to keep in mind is that you do have some impact in this process. All of these applications are up on the foundation website, so not only 21st Century Fund members, but others get a chance to see what's there and read the proposals. It's not unusual following the first round, the February meeting, the so-called science fair, for people to take an interest in you. Some of you I know have been through this process before. You may find volunteers come out to know more about your organization. You may find you get new donors. So even if you don't make it through to that final 3, 4, whatever the number is this year, don't consider it a failure. You may well find that you've got new friends in the community as part of the process. If you don't like the process, don't yell at any of the staff here at the foundation. They have nothing to do with it. You can come hunting for me, you can come hunting for the application review committee, but this is strictly run by the members of the fund itself. So any dissatisfaction, let us know. We're always looking for ways to improve it. Don't hound the foundation. They have nothing to do with it. And I think those are really my big comments before you get into some Q&A. And I would reiterate the wow factor. Give the membership something to look at they've never seen before, they haven't thought about before. You've hit a niche that it is really an exciting new thing for an organization to tackle. That's what everybody's looking for. So go for it.
Do you have any questions for anybody? This is the time. If you don't want to disclose your question, because of the privacy, you can whisper it to us afterwards. Yeah.
Is staffing cost ever acceptable within the proposal? Sure.
Yeah, it is, but if this is a staffing application, it is not strong. That has not fared well in evaluations. The issues are, this is just an extra body, what happens after a year.
But if it's a new initiative that requires additional staffing to accomplish it, it still is not suggested it's included?
I'm saying that staffing requests are not as well received as other requests. I'm just telling you the history of it.
No, I know.
You put in your application what you think is necessary. I don't want you to violate your integrity. But you understand that you've got to sell it. If you're talking about that, you really have to sell it because you know that that's something that will be flagged.
And I think it was the point that Steve made earlier, that if the personnel piece is 50% of the budget, 70% of the budget, obviously people are going to ask the sustainability question, where does the salary come from when the $100,000 is gone? If it's 10,000 of the budget, because you need someone to facilitate something with a collaborative partner, that's a totally different issue.
Yeah.
So it's really a scale issue, and if it reads as, we're going to hire a new staff member, and then we'll figure it out next year, it's just not going to make the cut.
Some of the applications have had costs for special consultants with a particular skill, whether it be an architect or a planner, or somebody where the skill didn't exist in the organization. One-time cost, not an ongoing cost, not really a hire in a way. And those things have been fairly common in applications. And, you know, if you want, we'll talk about what you got. There's always ways to improve it.
So I have another question, and this might be more of a one-on-one, or you might, I'm sure there's a lot of organizations that have this issue. So you have a program that has a funding stream, and the funding stream never covers the cost, the true cost of the program. And you see holes and niches in the community that you know what could be done to make it better. But again, the funding stream's never gonna cover those costs, but the outcomes are going to have impact on the community.
The rationale is strong, details are important. A lot of, because what happens is, you've got to make the case that this difference makes a difference. And that's a case that has to be made. Otherwise, the question will be, are you just adding one more thing to people you already do? Or are you adding one small population to what you already do? What I warned against. You have to make the case. And the way in which you write this and present this has a major impact. And you're not going to be standing in front at the initial cut. They're going to read your documents. And so you want to make it clear and make your case. What you don't know is who you're competing against in a way until after you do it. And so what Cynthia said is you can have a really fine project, but it's compared to probably about 25 or 30 other ones. So it can be great, but it might not get the best.
Right.
But again, don't distort what you're asking for to try to make it fit what we're doing. Be straight up, ask for it, win or lose. Because there are other sources of funding that sometimes people know about. We've already done that. We've already steered a couple of applicants into other sources of funding.
Yes. I have a twofold question. One is with regards to the organization's current budget. And you mentioned that a small organization would be welcome. But at some point, I believe you did mention that if you did have a under $50,000 budget, I would like to know if there is a cutoff, if we would even not even plan to apply, because my second part of the question is that we are also, if we are all not-for-profit volunteers, but we have the expertise within our room, plus we're collaborating with other parties, then is that budget, standalone budget, a major deciding factor, or you look at the budget with what you're collaborating with? And we can't get their financials, or would you need their financials as well?
Let me tell you what I would advise and see how well this goes. We have $100,000 of our money that we're giving to an organization. What evidence do we have that the organization can manage $100,000 in a year? If your budget is $20,000 in a year, it's going to be a very tough reach. So you've got to show that you can manage this. This is a lot like loaning a relative money who is broke. You want to show that they're capable of it because it's an investment. This isn't charity. If you're partnering with another organization, which is larger and certainly more capable, they may be the one that the application should come through. We've seen that. Flipping that can strengthen it because the issue of competence, management of money is right there. How you negotiate that in the partnership is interesting and creative. You don't be swallowed up by another one, but you want partners that will enhance what you're doing. Again, partnership is being able to do something you couldn't do by yourself. But you got to show you can manage $100,000 in a year.
And I would say that the one issue related to that, which Steve also talked about earlier, is you might indeed have an operating budget that's only $50,000 or $60,000. If you can show that you've already done projects where you've received grants or state or federal or local dollars for a $150,000 or a $200,000 project that you successfully managed, then that's a totally different presentation of your capabilities. So there isn't a budget threshold, but there needs to be a relationship between your operating budget and your ability to do the deliverables. And you may already have a track record of doing that. Many small organizations do.
One of the things that's useful is imagine that you're on the application committee in some other organization that you're not applying for. What standards would you apply? But this is not a foundation giving the money. This is our money. And what, you will find the answers by what you normally would do. So, how would you feel about giving an organization $100,000 if it said this, if it did that? Look at your proposals as more objective, or have somebody else look at them and say, would you give this person $100,000? Would you give this agency $100,000? And we're just interested in character and competence. So,
Thank you.
what else you want to know? Are we done?
Well, I'd like to say thank you to all of you for coming out here. If you'd like to know any more about the 21st Century Fund, just as a fund, if you're interested in becoming a member or something, then Elaine could certainly give you any information you'd be looking for. Or you can go to the cfgb.org website, where they've got information on the fund also. Quickly in a nutshell though, it's a member organization. It's a $2,100 pledge that makes you a member for life. It's paid over 5 years. If you're under 35, it's only $1,000 pledge, so $200 a year, and then you're a member forever, and then you get to vote on these projects too, which is very exciting. So thank you again for coming out, and if you've got any questions, please let us know. Thank you.